Jake and Henry, a short story. There is a lot of metafiction in short stories these days. Readers are supposed to be tickled by some curly narrative that, at the last minute or earlier, eats its own tail, and where all the characters know they are in the story. I prefer a straight narrative, like the story of my friend Jake. He knew he was in this story, actually. I told him. I said, "You're going to be in one of my stories, Jake, so do something eventful." A bit later he came back and says he's got Jenny Fitzgerald pregnant. They decided to keep the baby. It was a boy named Gordon. Jake became a plumber. The little boy needed lots of expensive dental work. Eventually Jenny ran off with a mystery man named Leon, and they, with Gordon, moved to Western Australia. I haven't seen any of them for years. Now that is a straightforward story. It has a start, a middle and an end. The narrative moves from A to B. And even though Jake knew he was in a story, I'm not saying he got Jenny pregnant just to drive the plot. Although he might have. That sort of thing happens in metafiction. Still, I'm not telling the story of Jake here. That's just a brain fart. I'm telling the story of Jake's brother Henry. Although Jake and Henry are identical twins, and throughout the story I thought Henry was Jake. Unfortunately so, because I was bad-mouthing Henry to Jake. In fact, I was saying to Jake that when he had the opportunity, he should kill Henry and put an end to all the identical twins nonsense. Just then, Jake, who I thought was Henry, arrived home. "Don't listen to him, Henry," he said. "Can't you see you're just a plot device?" But by this stage, Henry, who I thought was Jake, liked being Jake and thought my idea of killing Henry was a cunning turn. It was Henry he wanted to kill, though, so he could be Jake, but he had to kill Jake to kill Henry. Readers will notice that he has to kill both himself and Jake. He claimed, however, to be Jake, and so did Henry. I had to put them to a test. Which of them, I wondered, knew the end of this story? Killing Henry was a plot device, of course. A good story needs a dark twist. In this story there were two brothers, twins, and one brother thought the other brother infringed his reality, and so did the other brother. The evil brother kills the good brother, but then realises he's killed the wrong one. Jake, who I thought was Henry, said that he told Jenny she was going to be in this story, and that was one of the reasons she ran away with Leon. She wanted to write the final paragraph, the end. But in the end, said Jake, who I thought was Henry, the narrator, in a cruel disclosure, declares that it was really Henry who Jenny had run off with, and it was Leon who was the narrative device. Readers never guessed. At this, Henry, who I thought was Jake, pulled out a gun and shot Jake, who I thought was Henry. Henry thought he was Jake and that Jenny had run off with Henry. Then he turned to me and told me his version of the ending. In the end, he said, "You reveal that I'm actually the narrator of this story." And he lifted his gun and shot me.